Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Creative Youth Studios. We're so excited to have you here for our final episode. So, if you don't remember, I'm Emily, and you've probably seen me doing a bunch of interviews, such as our directing episode and our college admissions episode. I'll pass it on to you guys.
Hey, I'm Imahni. I also interviewed in the directing episode and did some of the interviews with neurodiversity and the Bard Day. That was a very fun day. Did the interviews? Did one of the interviews there. So yeah, that's where you would have seen me.
Hi, my name is Jada. You might have seen me in episodes such as neurodiversity and inclusivity, and definitely the Barden episode. I was the host, but I would have loved to interview for that episode.
We're currently waiting on Katrina right now. They're having a bit of technical difficulties with activating her camera, but she'll be on very soon. But we're just going to go ahead and kind of just talk to you guys. And I know that we have a little while because we have a bit of a show with you guys today, but we just want to give you guys some time to put into the comment box any questions that you guys may have. So, take some time, and you guys have basically the duration of this episode to think of any questions and throw them in the chat, and then we'll get to them as we're able to, for sure.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear from you. Well, speaking of, we had so many amazing episodes this season, and I'm so proud of all the work we got to do. Do you guys have any favorites?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Anybody have any favorite episodes? I would love to know that. That might be a bit of a polarizing topic, though, because some of us might be like, "Oh, wait, but I interviewed that episode. Why didn't you like my episode?" So, we may see some heads getting lost here, audience. So get ready for quite a show. But I'm just kidding. How about, let's see here if we have any questions.
I know my favorite episode was either stage management or college admissions. I just found those so interesting.
Mm, mm, mm. Jada, what about you?
I definitely like the stage management one as well. I feel like I learned a lot from that episode. And the neurodiversity episode was also one of my all time favorites. It was just so fun to be a part of, and I also learned so much.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I really did love the neurodiversity episode. Being a part of it was super fun. I mean, I just love Reed and Sam, the people who we interviewed. They're just like some of my favorite people. So just getting to be there and interviewing them was kind of a plus. So I don't mean to seem biased, but I do also have to say one of my favorite episodes, let's be a part of, was of the Bard Day episode. I interviewed Barry Edelstein, and he said some crazy things. If any of you guys haven't seen that episode out there in the audience, please go check that one out, because he said some crazy stuff about the language that Shakespeare uses and how it's very closely related to German. So that's why the grammar is so strange. I mean, just that alone, like, blew my mind. So that has to be one of my most favorite things, for sure.
Oh, Imani, we have a question.
Oh,
You have worked with neurodiverse people. Can you tell us a lesson that you learned or one that could help us?
mm, mm. Yeah, well, Sam is the instructor who we interviewed on that episode, who their career is educating neurodiverse youth and neurodiverse just people in general in theater arts. And one of the things that Sam said was being very inclusive. Not just with the class itself. Oh, technically it's inclusive because obviously you're teaching people that are neurally diverse, but what is important is to make them feel welcome. Right? It's different just to have people there, but it's another thing to have people see themselves in the class, see themselves represented in what you're teaching, and that is something that's very important. And that really you can apply to any context where you're trying to be inclusive and not just neurally diverse people, but it is just something that's very important with that group of people, especially. That's at least what I learned. Yeah. Oh, another question. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay. Did anything you learned from interviewees this season sway what you want for your career? Uh-oh, here we go. If any of your parents are watching, or any of our parents are watching, they're gonna lose their minds if we tell them that. Oh yeah, I totally changed my college career, right? What do you guys think?
I would say I don't think it really swayed me, but I definitely want to try stage managing. I feel like my organization skills will just love that job. So I definitely want to try it. I don't know if I want to do it as a career, but I want to try it one day.
I feel the exact same way. I feel like everything I learned like supports like my career choices that I had already made and encourages me to like try new things. Like I want to keep trying directing and I'd also love to try stage management as well.
Mm, mm. I don't know if I've been swayed. I did feel especially inspired to direct more after the directing episode, just because I just directing is just so fun, and it was really cool having these people that have been in it for so long talk to us about it, and that was cool. But this isn't so much a swaying thing, but I have kind of taken up writing poetry and reading poetry a little bit more since our spoken word episode. That episode was super inspiring regarding that, because there's something just so awesome about being able to express yourself in the same language, your same native language, but it almost sounds like a different tongue, and like in like all in general. You know what I mean? Because of
Yeah.
just the way that it's formed and crafted. So I've been messing around with that, and that has definitely been fun, but not quite swayed just yet. We're still working on getting Katrina in here. She'll be here soon. But while we're waiting, go ahead and throw some more questions in the chat. We're having a great time with you guys. And in the meantime, while we are waiting, let me ask you, would this have been easier to do in person? Aside from all this Zoom?
Okay. I
Yeah.
was thinking about that. I think the first and last episodes, like if we were in person right now, I think it would be easier. Hence our technical difficulties. Um, but I love that we were able to like interview people from different areas and it made it like pretty accessible as to who we were able to interview. So, hey, you're back.
Got him in. Great.
All right.
Okay. Hello. Okay. Hi, I'm Katrina. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Okay. So some episodes you might remember me by are the finances and the arts. I have this all written down. Directing, and I interviewed Kylie Kell in musical theater. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that those technical issues were done. But like kind of adding what Emily said about how it would have been easier or harder. I mean, definitely in the technical aspects, like definitely there were so many things that could have been solved or prevented or things like that. Like, I mean, I remember, funny story, I was interviewing for my interview with Kylie Kiel from musical theater. For the interview, we actually recorded it and then it was deleted from my computer due to a technical glitch. So we had to meet and record the interview again. And that was something that wouldn't have happened if we had done it in person and if we could have done it either live or we could have recorded it in a different way. But that was like a woo moment. I'm so glad that we were able to fix things and solve them. But I mean, same with Emily. Like I did like the format of CYS virtually because I feel like it allowed us to do a lot of different things that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. But
yeah, I love that we were able to interview so many different people. I feel like it wouldn't be, as accessible as to who we could have interviewed had it had to be in person.
I mean,
Actually, we have another question in the chat.
Oh.
Hypothetically, if CYS season 3 were in the works, what kinds of things would you want to learn and who would you want to learn from?
I remember one of the topics that was something that we had discussed a lot as something that we wanted to dive into, but we could never find the right guest or the right time to do it, was environmentalism in the arts. And specifically how that applies to design, whether it's scenic or costume or lighting, things like that. And that was something that I think Emily was the one who originally brought it up. And we were also fascinated with the idea, but it never really fit into the season in the perfect way. So hopefully, like, if we were to do it in the future, we would be able to, really dive into that and be able to explore. I don't know which guests we would find for those, but I mean,
I would totally agree with that. I was a little excited for that episode. We had interviewers like that we had lined up for that, and it just like never really fit. But I was so excited, so I would definitely agree that if season 3, I would love to see that episode come to works.
I would like to learn more about just like the logistics of like shows that travel. I think that's very interesting.
Mhm.
There's like a lot that goes into making sure everything's where it needs to be and how theaters get chosen to host certain shows. I think that could be pretty
Yeah, I think we had one episode lined up at one point. It wasn't able to work out either, just because we weren't able to get this, guests lined up. But I really, if we were to do a season 3, or if it was in the works right now, I would really want to have a conversation between a casting director and a youth member of a underrepresented minority in theater arts. That would be really cool to have a conversation between the two of them, and then obviously facilitated by us, and just being there and getting to see just this raw interaction between these two people, and to see what we could learn from that, and just I think it'd be really interesting. So that is definitely what I would want to spearhead.
Yeah, real quick, kind of adding on to that, I know that we did an inclusion episode, but that was mainly focused on race. But there's so many underrepresented minorities in the arts that we weren't able to cover this season. And I would love to dive into that, whether it is the LGBTQ plus community, or the disabled community, or women in theater. Like, these are all different aspects that did fall under the umbrella of inclusion, but I would love to go into the specifics of that, because it is a completely different thing than just inclusion.
Yeah, maybe like a section of like the season is dedicated to like diving into these underrepresented communities just in general. That would be pretty cool. I think
adding on to Imahni's idea about having a conversation, I would love to talk to people in like arts administration and theater teachers in like public schools, and learn about what we can do as students to try and get arts to be more accessible to people in schools, because I feel like that contributes to so much of the lack of inclusion. Is a lot of people are not able to get introduced to theater at a young age, and then they just kind of never ended up getting introduced to it. So I would love to make it more open to students.
Kind of jumping off on that, I would love an episode on just like how we could work as a community to make theater more affordable, because it is kind of really expensive to do theater, especially like youth theater. It's so expensive. Like, I can't do it now. Like, I wanted to be doing junior theater with Imahni's mom, but it's so expensive. So I would just love to like find ways that we can make it, like maybe scholarships or like organizations that are willing to help. I think that would be a really cool thing to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, we need more free youth theater companies, like Type A Theater Company. Never mind. So we have another question in the chat from the audience here. What topics do you think are important to youth in this moment and climate?
Well, climate change, just thinking climate. Yeah.
Pretty important. Yeah. I think it's kind of tough because, yes, climate change, but on a more, I think on the nose point, like COVID and like doing virtual plays and everything, as we've seen with the vaccine rollout and CDC guidelines are changing, the climate is rapidly reverting back to what it was beforehand. We're seeing shows being put back in person. We're seeing people rehearse in person. We have been seeing shows happening in person for the last couple of months, but now it's going to be more socially accepted, and it's going to be happening more and more as we proceed. So I feel like this is kind of a tough question, because it's not like we can make episodes and doing virtual plays so much anymore, because we're not going to be doing that many more virtual plays, So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're going to take a long time to figure out. What do we want to keep from this past year or so, and what that we're super excited to let go of. I mean, I kind of connects to our next question. Do you think there's a benefit to having an online show, even if we go to a live format in the future? And I would say yes. I mean, especially with like YouTube becoming somehow even like more prevalent in people's lives with COVID, I would argue that there's absolutely a benefit to at least keeping this, since it's definitely targeted towards like younger people. Why not meet people where they are? And a lot of times that is online.
Yeah. One of the things Jada was talking about accessibility, and I think that virtual theater, like, I mean, I know a lot of people still don't have access to internet, but I know a lot of schools have been able to give their students Chromebooks or computers in order to do things. But I also think that virtual theater allows kids who might not be able to travel far to do theater. Like, I mean, I know that there are many families out there who can't afford to take their kids to like downtown San Diego every night and spend 2 hours there, like, but with virtual theater, I mean, either the whole play could be virtual or maybe just the entire rehearsal process is virtual and then you go into the theater. Like virtual theater, while it isn't the best alternative, it has given us a good alternative to live theater that, I mean, I'm interested to see how that's going to continue to play out in the future, or if people are even going to play with it. Maybe people are going to be like, no more virtual theater. I want live theater. So who knows?
I actually have a question regarding that. I know that so like as we kind of saw with like the music industry and like the dance industry and just like the film industry in general, and also particularly with advertisements, when platforms like YouTube got super popular or more relevant to the content of this question, TikTok, where things are very, very shortened and everything's very accessible. Everything is like it's anybody can make these things. There's like very few gatekeepers, right? Which is good. However, we're seeing these things getting shorter and we're seeing the standards for quality lower as well. And so then we see people that are seeing things that we might have not been as impressed by previously, but we're very impressed now because our standards have been lowered. Or something that's an hour that would have seemed short or regular to us before now seems very long and an arduous task to sit through because we're used to seeing things very bite-sized. So the reason why I bring this up is because I wonder, what do you guys think that virtual theater is going to do for regular theater in the future? If virtual theater continues and we see these things that, while it's great that it's accessible, things are shorter, right? Because people don't want to spend 2.5 hours on Zoom. So things become more bite-sized. So what's it going to do, with audiences when we go to 2.5, 3 hour shows again, and we're not used to this, and kids that spent the last 2 years watching virtual shows, and maybe future years if it continues, are not going to want to go see these shows because it's too long. It's not efficient. But what do you guys think about that?
I've kind of worried about that, but then I realized like movies still exist, like while you have TikToks, like there are still like 2.5 hour long movies that people will like go to the theater and watch. So I think the interest will always be there because, as you pointed out, like, yeah, maybe some people are impressed by like kind of lower quality, shorter works. There are a good number of people who, want to see actual like CGI or, impressive technology or things like that like just don't exist really in these shorter formats. And then the same with live theater. Like, obviously we've all seen seen Zoom shows, and they are nowhere near quality in comparison to anything in real life. And anyone watching that, I think, is going to be interested to see the impressive feats, especially with theater. Like there are so many moments in theater that are like technical feats people want to see for like the spectacle, like Elphaba being lifted in Wicked or whatever. Like none of that can exist on your phone. So I think the appeal will always be there.
Just kind of lower down the camera as you levitate, right? For Alphaba and Zoom Wicked, right? Trick everybody. Whoa,
The thing that I was thinking of is quick changes. You just gotta like jump out of the camera's view and then change really quickly.
Or just put on one of the Zoom filters, that has like the hats or whatever. Then there you go. It's automatic quick change. You're not the person you were 2 seconds ago. It's even faster. Okay, here's another one. We have here, who was the most impressive interview you did?
Can I answer that question? I would like to say my mom, Kim Heil. She did the interview on financial literacy. And beyond the fact that, like, I mean, actually, no, I can't say beyond the fact, but since she is my mom, I have seen her grow in this quest for learning about this. And like, it was one of those things that she was always interested in. And now, like, I mean, I think one of the best things ever is when you get to see someone do something that they're passionate about. And that's one of the great things about live theater is that when someone goes up stage and you see them singing and you see them acting it out, like you can just tell how passionate they are about that. And I mean, I was so impressed with my mom during that interview because like, you know, you don't think that your mom knows like things, random things like that. Like I didn't know that my mom knew about financial literacy in the arts. Like that she's not a financial person in her job, but I mean, it always, I mean, and also that is another version of something that we have done during the pandemic to pursue what we love. Like, I mean, Zoom theater is another example of that. We are bending our environment, we are changing the rules in order to do what we love. And my mom did that with creating her thing, the nuance, and like she changed what she expected to do in the future and adapted to the current circumstances. Like, I mean, I don't know if she's watching this. Hi, mom, but but yeah, I'd have to say my mom can Heil.
That was a very efficient way to get out of chores forever. No, I'm kidding.
Mom, did you hear that?
I'm say Camilla from our most recent episode on college admissions because I've known her for 4 years and it's super full circle to watch her talk about our college admission process and auditioning when we were going through it together. So I get to say, oh, I'm so proud of you and everything you've done. And it's so exciting. I'm always impressed by her hard work.
I would say Sam and Reed because they had to do more prep than the other people who I interviewed. I had to give them the questions beforehand. They prepped them, they worked on them, and the amount of like work that went into the interview was just amazing to me. And I felt like so appreciated that like all of my hard work, they were sharing it with me, and I really appreciated like her helping me and like through that as well as Imahni was helping me too. So I would definitely say them.
Yeah, that was a really awesome experience that they were there with us in the lion's share of the labor for that episode. It really was not like, it was not just a host and guest thing. They were they were like integrated into the show. So that was really cool. But I think for me, still, it's just like the interview that made the most impact on me was that Barry Edelstein interview. Getting to talk about Shakespeare with like the like this most famous Shakespeare San Diegan, guy. It was just like, or probably Californian, I don't know how expansive the reach goes, but I just know that I was very impressed is funny to say because like the stature is like this, but I was very impressed. It was world renowned. As there we go. Yeah, get a little clarification in the chat. World renowned. I'll fix that. But it was awesome. I learned so many things about Shakespearean language that I had never even thought of before. And I had gone to like a full summer length Shakespeare camp before. I've done a couple of Shakespeare shows. My mom is a Shakespeare head or whatever they call them, spearhead. So learning these new things was like really awesome to me. And I've like shared them with a couple friends and family members like immediately after. So that's always a good sign.
That's great. Oh, here's another one. If you had to go, this is kind of mirroring another question. If you had to go into a specific field that was interviewed, what would it be? So like it's kind of like if you were to like what sparked your interest, but is there anything that like if you like had to go into a field, it would be one of those?
I'm gonna have to say the musical theater, as far as what Kelly Kiel said, or what Kelly Kiel does, which is more compositional or just like more from a music side of things. While I do love directing, and that's a very close second, writing music is definitely like the thing that will forever come easiest to me. And so like if I want to have the most fun in something and just kind of have the most kickback time, but also have the most creative juices flowing through my brain all the time, the least amount of stress, that's going to have to be the one I go with for sure.
I would back up on that. Like, I would say Melissa, same episode, but Melissa because she literally had it all. She was a musician. She worked at Disneyland. Hello, I would love to work at Disneyland. Happiest place on earth. And she always found a way to have musical theater incorporated in her life while also keeping in touch with her music side, which I love music and musical theater, so and Disneyland. So I would love to put them all together. And I
It's
thought,
primarily the Disneyland part.
yes,
I would have to go with Jeff from our college admissions episode because he was such a good help to me. And like, I just going through that process would love to be able to help other people really like reduce their anxiety about like transitioning from high school to college and get to be themselves in more spaces.
Yeah. I will say really quickly because I know we have another question, but I really was interested in learning about the different tech aspects and like honestly any of the technical fields were so fascinating to me because that's like never been something that I've ever really thought of as a career path, but I found those so interesting. So and here's a fun question. If you could interview one another, what is one question you'd ask a fellow host?
Who's your favorite co-host? No, I'm kidding. I have to think about that one a little bit. It's kind of tough.
And what's your favorite food, Imani? Just so I know when I drop it by, because we're great
Oh,
friends.
my favorite food is ramen.
Okay,
Without a
good to
doubt.
know. And you're great, Imani. I just have to say that when you're deciding your favorite
Oh,
co-host.
all right. I'll keep that in mind when I make my decision.
That's a good question, though. I honestly don't know. I feel like we all became friends during the process, so I mean, I don't know. Jada, Emily, you guys have anything?
I would say, like, what would you say yourself is different, like, in person than you are in Zoom? Because I feel like I'm a completely different person, and I've really only ever seen Imani in person. And I feel like you are a completely different person, too. So, like, what would you say is different about you from your Zoom person to your actual person?
That is so true. I was just thinking that because I know Jada and Katrina from last summer, but it was virtual, and I know Imani from in person, but it's been years. So I feel like we could use an in-person meetup and
Yeah.
know each other's in-person personalities.
Yeah, that's a really good question, though, Jada.
Yeah.
I don't even
Do
think
we
I have.
answer it, or do we just say what questions we would ask, or do we answer them as well?
I was gonna say I don't think I have an answer. I don't know how I'm different in person. I feel like I talk more in person, but I think that's just you spend so much time on Zoom, waiting to see if someone else is gonna go because you don't want to be rude or having like technical difficulties to where it's so less natural.
I feel like I haven't really changed through Zoom, but it's more of when I am interacting with people. It's the same thing like Jada. I know when you and I were around each other a lot, we were in a rehearsal process, right? So as I was in the rehearsal process, I'm the same for like when we hold the meetings for the show. Like I'm very kind of just listening, just kind of trying to get the task done. But then when you're hanging around with people or presenting yourself or anything like that, I feel like you definitely change. So I kind of feel like Zoom is just my presenting self, and I have to do it all the time when I'm on Zoom because all you see is your head, right? That's the impression you have to make with, or that's what you have to make your impression with, if that's English. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have two more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Do you feel you got better as the season went on, interviewing, camera angles, etc.?
That's funny. Camera angles. It's like there wasn't much like room for creativity as far as camera angles went. Like not like some Stanley Kubrick kind of, but
Like this was my angle one time.
yeah, this yeah, exactly. But see, I'm confused. Just a confused interview. This is like interrogating. No. I feel like definitely got better as far as like talking to guests. Like when I think in the first episode, I'm very like or I'm like very like focused on just the question, and I didn't really feel like I could let loose with the guest. And so a couple episodes in, it kind of clicked, like, this is our show. So like we can be ourselves. And doing that really, I feel like, at least in my experience, made the guests hate me. No, I'm kidding. It made them really enjoy the experience. I feel like they were having more fun. They were being more open. So that was really fun. That's how I feel.
I feel like one thing I really got better at was like being able to like just have these deep conversations with people I've never met before, and also we are not in person. I was lucky to know Kat my first interview with stage managing, but everyone else I did not know. I only contacted with them in email. So at first I was always really nervous before an interview, and like because now I have to introduce myself, and now we have to have a flowy conversation about some topic, and I feel like I really got better at it. And I would at first it would take a while for us to like talk and like get to know each other, but then we would just get to know each other like so fast and talk, and it would feel like we known each other forever after the interview. So I really got better at that.
Yeah. I mean, you get into a rhythm while you're doing it. Like, I mean, you have like email them, get the Zoom link set up, do the interview, and then the interview has its own rhythm. Like once you start getting into that, it takes a few interviews to get into that groove, but once you've gotten into it, it's great. So.
And we've got our last question. What's next for our host? Which is a good question. What are y'all up to? I know I just graduated high school and Jada is graduating soon. So that's very exciting. But what about you guys? Imani, Katrina, what are you guys up to?
Wait, Emily, what college are you going to?
I'm going to Long Island University. I'm a BFA acting major.
Congratulations.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
That's what's next for Emily, folks. There you go. Yeah, I've got a couple productions I'm kind of working on or kind of starting up right now that are just very on the ground floor of starting up. So we'll see about that. Definitely will be as far as like college applications go. I'm trying to apply in the fall if I can pass all the classes and get enough units to do so, but hopefully I will. So that's what's next for me.
So for me, I was a sophomore. I'm going to be a junior in high school this upcoming year. So college applications are still like a year away. So I'm not thinking about that yet. But mainly it's just, like doing well in my honors and AP classes, like making sure that I am not overworking myself because I feel like everyone like is dealing with that. Like mainly, I mean, it's going to be a nice, chill summer, seeing friends, hanging out with people. So, yeah.
What about you, Jada?
I am currently torn between CSU Fullerton and CSU Long Beach for BA in acting and theater. So either one of those, I will be there.
That's awesome. I have a few friends that go to CSU Long Beach, so yeah, tell my money sent you, and then you'll be letting know all the clubs, they actually might let you into the school for free. So I don't know. Don't want to say anything. Yeah. Well, we would actually like to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to Kevin Anthill, who is technically in charge of these live episodes. He's controlling all the screens, and he's our guy in the chair, right? So that we really thank you for that, Kevin. And a shout out to Jonathan Hammond for editing these wonderful episodes. We hope that you guys have enjoyed every episode and that you guys have learned at least something, even if it didn't necessarily pertain to your career, something that you could share with a friend or at least use to be more interesting at dinners. So yeah, we want to give a big shout out to those two guys for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. And we hope that if there is a season 3, that we have all you viewers with us, whoever the team is for those episodes, and that we're with the same vigor as this season for sure.
And signing off, I'm Katrina.
I'm
Imahni.
Oh wait.
Oh, whatever.
I'm Emily.
And you're watching Disney Channel. No, I'm just kidding.
Copyright.
Yeah,
All right, peace out, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.